What kind of property are things like being a woman, being a man, being black, white, gay, straight, whatever? Are they intrinsic? Are they relational? Are they something else? What do they depend on? They are pretty important.
Wait.
I guarantee that properties like...
Because of the race thing?
That was important.
What kind of property are things like being a woman, being a man, being black, white, gay, straight, whatever? Are they intrinsic? Are they relational? Are they something else? What?
Are they both?
They're all in, well.
It's both. Both. That's my final answer.
Both? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, I mean, a man is both relational because society wants to know. And also it's intrinsic, obviously. It's biological.
Well, no. When you say relational, it's relational something that can change in relation to something else. Okay. Right?
No, it just figures into the social contract.
No, but I'm saying according to the definitions that she used, she said
the contract can change, but the component doesn't change.
I understand that, but you're using your definitions. We're not using your definitions. We're using Philosophy Tube's definitions.
She doesn't have definitions.
She did. She said relational is I'm standing next to the car.
Right.
And if she moves, she's no longer standing next to the car.
Okay.
So relational is a property that changes because it only exists in relation to something else. Okay.
Okay. Gotcha.
So is being a man relational? Now, I would imagine that she and the other leftists would argue yes. And I would think that you, and maybe myself as well, would say no, being a man is not relational. It's intrinsic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Do they depend on? They are pretty important. I guarantee that properties like that have shaped your entire life. They've sure as hell shaped mine. So, what the heck are they? In offering my theory of social categories, the aim is to reveal the cogs and belts and arrangements of parts in machines that often are oppressive.
See? Okay. there you go. Let me go back just a second. Okay. This is it. This is Philosophy Tube accidentally saying the quiet part out loud. Okay. This is it. Whenever they label something as a social construct, what they really mean, let me get oppressive. What they really mean is this thing is oppressive. I don't like it, and we should change it. That's what they really mean when they say X is a social construct.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it man against society or is it man against man? I'm not sure if there is a man against society.
There isn't, generally.
It's man against man, yeah. This is a man against man right here.
Sure.
Because she's fighting to change the social contract, which I thought we were all big fans of democracy and whatnot.
Well, but here's
we should just vote on this.
Well, but that's the inherent contradiction with a lot of the socialists, because they say, oh, well, we're in favor of democracy. We want to bring democracy to the workplace.
Right.
But they're not actually in favor of democracy.
No, they're not.
Because the entire position of all Marxian critical theory is that society is inherently oppressive.
Yeah.
And that the majority...
Oppressed by democracy.
Right. And that the majority is either A, the majority is going to oppress you, or B, the majority will be tricked by some minority to oppress you.
Right. They're like, why can't that minority be us?
Right. Exactly.
In offering my theory of social categories, that's from ASTA, Categories We Live By. So this isn't her quote.
Mm-hmm.
In offering my theory of social categories, the aim is to reveal the cogs and belts and arrangements of parts in machines that often are oppressive. Yeah. So they want to this is basically critical theory. Critical theory is just looking at any kind of social structure and figuring out how it's oppressive.
Well, I mean, I haven't looked into it too much, but whenever I've seen any social constructionist, it's almost always rooted in some form of critical theory or social justice activism. And this is what is always annoying when you argue with these people, that they say like, oh, every scientist agrees that, gender is a social construct. And it's like, well, wait a minute. The term social construct is not a widely used term by any means at all. It's used by very select groups of sociologists and social constructionists. Okay. When you look in like a psychology or psychiatry textbook, they don't ever refer to gender as a social construct. They'll say that there are social elements to it. They don't say social construct.
Right. Yeah. Is that a 289 or a 302? That engine there. Let's move on.
It's a 754, Adam. What are you, stupid?
No. That's a 289.
Impressive. To start solving this puzzle, we can do something that philosophers...
That's not the Mustang that she's leaning against. Notice the person said, you're not going to lean on my fucking Cherry. You can come use my garage for the day.
Take a picture,
but you're not leaning on my car. Yeah.
Lean
Lean on my
piece
of shit
Let me get the rust
Jeep.
bucket. You can lean on the rusty pile of trash.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Love. And if you know this, then you should absolutely study metaphysics, because this is like half of it. Imagine another Earth called Earth 2. And on Earth 2, they have all the same ideas we do about sex and race and gender, all those same categories, but they also have an extra one called Schmite. Schmite is very simple. There's two kinds of people on Earth 2, bigs and minis. Bigs is any adult over 5 feet tall, and minis is anyone under. And let's say...
We don't need a hypothetical Earth for that. We have that.
Yeah, that's here, right here. Yeah.
I don't know.
Sometimes we call the bigs shorty or tiny, for a joke. It's like a joke.
Well, I thought this was such a weird example because it's like, yeah, we don't have like second-class citizenship for short people, but
they do earn less money.
Our society does confer benefits
to tall people. Yes.
Short males.
Yeah.
In many ways. So.
Sorry.
That whether you're a big or a mini really affects your life on Earth too. Like if you're a big, you can get a better job, you can get a nicer house, you're allowed to marry whoever you like. If you're a mini, life is hard.
This is not, this is Earth 1. What's going on here? What's going on?
Suppose we were to meet the people of Earth 2, and we said, Schmite is just a social construct. Being a big or being a mini, those are clearly relational properties. They depend on how other people feel about you. They might say...
Wait a minute. So she's either done an awful job defining the terms, or what she's saying makes no sense. Okay? Because she said an intrinsic property is a property that if you remove it, it no longer can exist in that category.
Triangle, yeah.
Okay, so a triangle is defined by having three sides, and 3 edges or 3 angles. And if you get rid of one of the angles or sides, it's no longer a triangle. Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So relational is something that can change, but the object still retains its category.
Right.
Okay.
Location was the example in that one.
And she used the example she used was location, or even changing the color of a car. A car is still a car regardless of color you change. But with the bigs category, that's not relational. If you have to be over 5 feet to be a big, that's an intrinsic property.
Correct. Yeah.
So what the fuck is she talking about?
I told you.
Social construct. Being a big or being a mini, those are clearly relational properties.
Yeah, not really, not by your own definition. My God, that's such a huge mistake.
Unless she means like relational to being human or something. I don't.
Yeah, you don't. Your height is fixed. Sorry.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
She's bad at this.
Let's continue.
This is your whole thing, Philosophy Tube. You're supposed to have a channel where you explain philosophy. This doesn't make any sense.
They depend on how other people feel about you. They might say, No, it's not. It's not about feelings. It's objectively observable. Look, I have a...
Okay, so I'm going to look up this on the most authoritative source, Wikipedia, since Fossey was bad at explaining this. Intrinsic property is a property that an object or a thing has of itself independently of other things, including its context. Okay. And an extrinsic property or relational is a property that depends on a thing's relationship with other things. The latter is sometimes called an attribute. For example, mass is a physical intrinsic property of any physical object, whereas weight is an extrinsic property that varies depending on the strength of the gravitational field in which the respective object is placed.
True. Yeah, you weigh different amounts on the moon or on Earth.
Okay. So, height. Is there any way height ever changes?
Well, if you get close to a black hole, you stretch out millions. So sure, yeah. Everyone's a big next to a black hole for a very short period of time until you pass the event horizon.
No. If it's theorized that if you get near a black hole, since it's pulling time, it slows time down so much. So you're actually very tall for a very long period of time.
Oh, I got it.
Maybe an infinite period of time. But
it's kind of an edge case, so we aren't usually hanging out around black holes. So
sure. So yeah, I don't know what the hell is she talking. I don't see how height is a relational property whatsoever.
Yeah,
it sounds. I'm
very confused.
It sounds like she's confusing. Either A, she's not explaining the concept properly, which is very possible, or B, she's confusing the extrinsic relational property of height with the value that society gives it.
Yeah, that's what I thought the conflation was right there.
Right. Sure.
She's saying, look, you've elected to create a social construct around the height 5 foot. Right.
But that's the problem, is that almost everyone that argues social constructs on the internet from a leftist perspective, even though whenever you argue with them, they say that's not what it means, they don't really know what it means either.
Right, yeah. Well, she's basically, this whole argument is a masking for the trans issue. She's basically saying we want to change the categorical definition of woman.
Right.
So she's basically making the argument that we've made this arbitrary distinction around 5 foot for the bigs and the littles, and we want to change that so everyone is a big. We want everyone to be a big.
Right. And so, well, let's look at so the category of woman, that would be an intrinsic property, would it not? Even if, and I think this is why it's weird that she went this direction. You could say under her definition of social construct that everything that has an intrinsic property is still socially constructed to have that property or to be categorized in such a way, but that doesn't remove the fact that it's an intrinsic property.
Yeah.
So like being a cis woman or a woman would be intrinsic property.
Yes.
It's not relational to something else. If a woman goes to the moon, she's still a woman.
But doesn't a cis woman choose to be a cis woman though? Isn't it the same as being, I mean, she's just selecting to be cis.
First, well, are you saying that's their argument?
I think it is. Yeah.
Well, no, I don't. Well,
they don't want people to assign birth at they don't want doctors to assign gender at birth. They want people to pick their gender. So even if a person identifies with their biological sex, they're still picking their gender. They're just picking the regular gender.
Okay, so maybe you're right. Maybe they're trying to argue that sex is a relational extrinsic property, but they don't have any evidence to back that up, or any logic, really. It wouldn't be evidence. You don't have any logic to back that claim up. It's strictly intrinsic.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's a property of an object, of the thing itself, that's independent of other things. And so what gametes you produce, what chromosomes you have, those are independent of other things, are they not?
Yeah, obviously.
Okay.
That's why I was saying like the possession aspect comes into it.